The prisoner reproached himself with not having thus employed the hours he had passed in vain hopes, prayer, and despondency. During the 6 years he had been imprisoned, what might he not have accomplished? This idea imparted new energy, and in 3 days he had succeeded, with the utmost precaution, in removing the cement and exposing the stonework. The wall was built of rough stones, among which, to give strength to the structure, blocks of hewn stone were at intervals embedded. It was one of these that he had uncovered, and which he must remove from its socket. Dantès strove to do this with his nails, but they were too weak. The fragments of the jug broke, and after an hour of useless toil, Dantès paused with anguish on his brow. Was he to be thus stopped at the beginning? And was he to wait inactive until his fellow workman had completed his task? Suddenly, an idea occurred to him. He smiled, and the perspiration dried on his forehead. The jailer always brought Dantès soup in an iron saucepan. This saucepan contained soup for both prisoners, for Dantès had noticed that it was either quite full or half empty, according as the turnkey gave it to him or his companion first. The handle of the saucepan was iron. Dantès would have given 10 years of his life in exchange for it. The jailer was accustomed to pour the contents of the saucepan into Dantès' plate, and Dantès, after having eaten his soup with a wooden spoon, washed the plate, which thus served for every day. Now, when evening came, Dantès put his plate on the ground near the door. The jailer, as he entered, stepped on it and broke it. Okay, Dantès getting a little crafty here. What is he up to? He's got his eye on that iron handle of the saucepan. He's not doing plaster calculations on the ground like the Mad Abbé was, but he's got something going through his mind, that's for sure. I kind of like the idea of Dantès being a sort of 19th century MacGyver here. I mean, we haven't really seen any displays of ingenuity on his part previous to this. I mean, to be honest, we haven't seen much of his life previous to this, right? I mean, what was his life like on the ship? What kind of captain was he? All we know really is that the crew liked him. But why? What made him good outside of his youth? Maybe he's known for this sort of improvisational thinking on the ship to solve problems that crop up. Maybe that's what kept them afloat, pun intended, after Captain Leclerc died and made him successful in getting the crew and the storage back to the port for Monsieur Morel. But we don't know that. We don't know any of that. Regardless, Dantès is acting as a sort of MacGyver here in a dungeon. Let's just switch gears, and I want to finish up the thoughts I had on the Scarlet Pimpernel, which I had talked about over the last couple episodes. So as a proxy to this story, it's much shorter, it's much more brisk, the pacing is very fast, it's a page-turner, as I think I said. Would I call it well-written? I mean, that's the sort of question that requires defining criteria. It's well written for what it is and what it was intended to be. Again, it coming from a stage play, you don't have the breadth of space that Dumas has in a multi-volume published work over the course of 2.5 years, to get into the depths of things the way that he does. And a lot of scholars actually hurl the criticism at Dumas that he would never turn his nose up at the opportunity to fill the page with more words than is necessary. I don't know that I have felt that exactly. I mean, it is a long story, but this isn't like Dickens comes to mind. Dickens is one that was like, okay, I get paid by the word, and now let's really cram as many in here as possible. For as long and tangenty as this book has been so far, I do feel like everything has contributed meaningfully to the story and the characters. Where was I going? Scarlet Pimpernel. Baroness Orczy. Yes, it's stylistically really interesting. It's not as swashbuckly as I thought it would be. There's a lot of it's told from the perspective of a duchess, I think a duchess, somewhat a princess maybe, a figure of royalty, and it's her husband that is moonlighting as the Scarlet Pimpernel. She doesn't realize this until about halfway through the book, and her brother is still in revolutionary France and about to see the guillotine, and the whole kind of tension and conflict of the story is about her trying to save her brother, the Scarlet Pimpernel, letting her know that he's on the case, and then finding out that it's actually her husband who is on the case because he is the Scarlet Pimpernel. I guess, spoiler alert. But there's not, like, I expected, the Errol Flynn, adventures of Robin Hood swashbuckling, swinging from chandeliers and cutlasses, whooshing through the air as they slice the, the front of the tunic of the bad guy. And it wasn't a lot of that. It was a lot of political intrigue, a lot of suspense of who's going to be where at what time. Can I reach them in time to deliver this message? And in that way, it was kind of similar to the Count of Monte Cristo. I think that even though, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, she doesn't go to any lengths to pay homage, direct homage to Dumas. I don't think the Scarlet Pimpernel can exist without stories like the Count of Monte Cristo and the Black Tulip, maybe even a little bit of the Three Musketeers. And this is where I want to draw, like, the stylistic difference, because we're talking about Dumas on this show, and if you remember a couple episodes ago, I kind of got in my own head about the analysis of his flowery writing, and that stuff exists in Dumas' work, and it does not exist in stories like The Scarlet Pimpernel from Baroness Orczy, where he is using symbolic language to subconsciously draw readers into a mindset. It's textured and it's, sure, it might be overly long for some people. Whereas Baroness Orczy uses much plainer language and it's more action oriented. Honestly, it's a little bit of a reversal from what I've noticed of modern day writers, not to make this gendered, but I notice often, not always, but often, female writers tend to root their stories in experience and psychology, whereas male writers tend to root it in action and event, a little bit in scenario. So, like, it's almost the exact opposite here with these two stories. I mean, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I mean, like, you have Steinbeck and you have Tolkien, which is better. Neither. They're not doing the same thing. They're not trying to do the same thing. So it's just a very different experience. All that to say, it's really made me appreciate Dumas' writing all the more. I am now keeping an eye out for, like, okay, where is it going to start to get a little overextended with the language? Are we hitting it here in this chapter with the ups and downs of Dante and being imprisoned and hearing this potential noise on the other side of the wall? I don't feel like we're there yet, but I haven't had a lot to comment on, I feel like, in the story and the action of what's happening. But maybe you will tomorrow. Why don't we find out? Join me here then, won't you? Okay. For more Chapter 15 on the Count of Monte Cristo. Okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.